Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Urban Updates. We're really happy to have everyone today. And we are especially happy to have with us Liz Brownlee, who is the SARE Grants and Farmer Rancher and Youth Educator Grant Coordinator. And she is going to be talking to us about the SARE program and about a lot of the grant programs that are available to both growers and educators and ag professionals. So without further ado, I will stop my share and I will pass it along to Liz. Liz, take it away.
Morning, everybody. I'm going to show some slides, but before I do, would folks put in the chat, if you would, we can spend our time this morning mostly on like what are the grants available, or what are the grants available plus some tips on grant writing. And I'm curious what if people want that optional tips on grant writing piece of it, because these would be for SARE grants, but also for any grant you're going after. Great. Julie says available grants. Other folks? In the meantime, I'll pull up my slides. Megan, let me know if anybody else puts anything in the chat. Okay. So I've got presenter view on my screen. Can somebody confirm that you guys can just see the slides?
I can see the presenter view.
Interesting. Okay, well, we'll do it the different way. Can you see just the slides now?
Just the slides now. Thank you.
Okay, all right, we're gonna go with it then. What did the chat end up with? Do we want to focus on the grants available, some grant writing tips, or some of both?
Some of both.
Okay, we can do it. All right, y'all. So my name is Liz Brownlee, and I know many of you, but not all of you. So good morning. Hello. I'm here in Indiana, but I work for SARE, which is Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. And I'm going to tell you all about this resource. And I'm really grateful for the time with you because it's a pretty neat pot of money and tools for your tool belt. But not everybody knows SARE, and so I want to make sure that you do. So, what is SARE? SARE funds on-farm applied research. And in every state and territory of the country, in Indiana, for instance, since SARE got started in 1988, we've put about $9 million into the state, and that's based on who's been applying for projects and what they are. So 211 projects of every shape and size. And I'm going to give you a few examples of those today and tell you about what our different grants are that you could be applying for, or perhaps your growers could be applying for. So quickly, who I am and why I love SARE. I just started this job 6 months ago, so you might think I'm still in the honeymoon phase. But I've actually been involved with SARE for a long time. I maybe know some of you because I'm a farmer here in Indiana. My husband Nate on the screen there, and I run Nightfall Farm here on my family's land in Southeast Indiana. We're in Jennings County. And this is year 11 of our farm. And so we raise livestock on pasture and do rotational grazing. And then we sell meat to CSA members. We've got a 50 family CSA, restaurants, small groceries, and farmers markets. And just to give you a sense of our scale, we'll raise 15 to 20 feeder pigs a year, 1,500 meat birds, 150 laying hens, 150 turkeys, and who did I leave out? The lambs. We'll take about 20, 25 lambs to the butcher each year. So Nate farms full-time, I farm part-time. And, you know, when we moved home 11 years ago, this is what our fields looked like. It was all corn and soybeans. And it was my family's land, about a 250-acre farm. 100 of that was tillable land, and converting that land into a perennial pasture and silvopasture was really hard. And luckily, we had lots of help from Soil and Water and NRCS. We've had a couple of EQIP contracts that have helped us with the funding, frankly, and the expertise of what to do. But boy, did it demonstrate to me that we need more applied on-farm information for regenerative practices. And that's part of how I got to SARE, because that's what SARE does, on-farm applied trials and research and demonstrations related to sustainable agriculture of every shape and size, including pastures, but also veggies, but also row crops, but also aquaculture. It's urban gardening. It's all over the map. And part of what appeals to me about SARE is that I think of our farm as small scale change, right? We're doing our thing right here on our farm. We're impacting, the 50 families in our CSA, the folks we see at market. We're rebuilding the health of this land. But boy, I also need large scale change. That's the way my brain works. And so that's part of how I got to SARE. So this is a guide. You don't need to be able to read all the text, but this is a guide that we put together. Nate and I had a SARE Farmer Rancher grant. Don't worry, I'll tell you all about the different types of grants very soon. But this was a really good introduction to SARE because I had served on a review committee first, and then applied for and we got one of these grants. So the review committees are neat. All of SARE's grants are selected by a group of peers. And so they have about 30 farmers and ranchers who serve on the review committee for the Farmer Rancher Grant. We have educators who serve on the review committee for our youth educator grants. We have researchers who serve on the review committee for the grants that involve university research, etc. Our SARE grant was focused on, could we build the smallest possible farmer to farmer butcher shop? What would that look like to be serving needs of farmers like ourselves who sell directly to consumers. And between serving on that review committee for 3 years and then having this farmer rancher grant, I was head over heels for SARE, and it was helping me feel connected to innovative things that are happening all around the country, or specifically the Midwest. It gave me a sense of community that I was really aching for. Really quickly, the other things we were doing to help create community, and maybe the way I know some of you, this is why I'm sharing it, is Nate and I've been involved with the Hoosier Young Farmers Coalition, and getting building up a sense of community among beginning farmers in the state. And that was very much just a bunch of volunteers, just a bunch of beginning farmers getting together for farm tours and potlucks. But pretty quickly we started to get some funding. And so we ran a fellowship for beginning farmers for 3 years. And we ran a podcast. If you want to hear voices of beginning farmers in Indiana, that's on the Hoosier Young Farmers site. And started to get involved with policy as well. And then helped launch Partners in Food and Farming. So just to say, I've worn a lot of different hats over the years, and I feel bad that I'm not wearing those hats anymore. I wasn't looking to leave Partners in Food and Farming, but I saw this job posting for SARE, and I've loved SARE for a long time. And so even though I'm really passionate about this work that PIF is doing, updating the narrative about food and farming in Indiana and creating more farmer to farmer learning, I switched over to SARE. And throughout the last 11 years, just the last thing I'll say is I have been serving on the SARE Advisory Council for Indiana. If this interests any of you, here's a little plug, because SARE has in every single state an advisory council that helps direct some of the funding. So there's some money to be had if you serve on this council to do professional development. So helping with outreach about SARE in general, but also train the trainer type efforts related to sustainable agriculture. And whoever serves on that council gets to help decide on the priorities and design the train the trainer projects and carry them out. So talk to Lace McCartney. I'll have her info on the slide later if that interests you. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to actually tell you about SARE. SARE is farmer driven. It's locally adapted and is really focused on solving problems. I think that hopefully you will have a greater appreciation for SARE as we go through these grant programs, but also as you start to engage with them. It's not just about the money, it's about the problem solving that's going on. So let's go over the basics here. SARE is a combination of both grants and outreach to advance sustainable agriculture to the whole of sustainable innovations to the whole of American agriculture. And you can see from the map, there are 4 regions. We are the North Central region. They sort of smushed the Midwest and the Plains together. That's us. And so if you're applying for a grant, that's who you're either competing with, or more importantly, who you're trying to serve. You're working on a grant that's just in your area, but part of the way you make your pitch is you show that it might help farmers across our region. Quick note that SARE, in addition to the grants, that's where my focus is, but they also have all these great books and bulletins and handouts about sustainable farming. Those are all free online as digital documents. But I want to note that any ag professionals, so our folks from Soil and Water in our CS, if you're a leader of a farmer network or a food council, nonprofit, there's a link here, and I'll get these slides to Megan and she can send them out to y'all. But any of those types of ag professionals can order up to 50 free SARE books and bulletins a year, and they will ship them to you for free to hand out at your events, to build into one of your workshops or field days or things like that. So I highly recommend checking that out. In terms of our grants, SARE got started in 1988, and the goal, you can see the goals here: decentralized, science-based, grassroots, practical, problem-solving, and inclusive grant making. And that's part of what I really value about SARE. We really do strive to live up to all of those aspects, and we've been working on all those for a very long time now. You can see the SARE mission is at the heart of the 3-legged stool, right? The 3 principles of sustainability are about being ecologically sound, socially responsible, and economically viable. I know you guys know that. So SARE's mission and where we fund work is really in that overlap zone. There always have to be farmers and ranchers involved in SARE's research and outreach. So if you're thinking about a grant, it can't just be ag professionals. It can't just be researchers. There always have to be farmers involved. And here's just a very broad list of the sorts of topics that you might get funded with a SARE grant. So let's talk about those grants. The goal here is to help farmers and ranchers, researchers, educators, and ag professionals explore innovative solutions. And we're going to hone in on that word innovative solutions through research, demonstration, and education projects. SARE projects can be any one of those 3 things: research, demonstration, or education. I'll give you some examples in a minute. But what does innovative mean? It could be a brand new, never before heard of idea. Or it could be an idea that's been proven in other places or settings, but it's innovative in your community. So for instance, there's a SARE grant, Farmer Rancher grant funded this year in Indiana, where the project is to try out a grazing system that's being used in Europe. So Elise Koenig has a grant to, in her Christmas tree planting, where she also has sheep on her farm. So she's going to take her, I think 3-year-old planting, maybe 5-year-old, take it into basically split it into 2. And on half of it, she's going to keep mowing and spraying herbicide the way she always has to control weeds in her Christmas tree planting. But on the other half, she's going to graze her sheep in the way that these folks in Europe are doing, because she's heard about it, she's read about it in books, but she can't find anybody in the US who's doing it, and certainly nobody in our region. And she wants to test out, will it actually work, or are the sheep going to eat all the trees? What they see in Europe is this particular breed does not eat these particular trees, but she needs to find out. And the SARE grant's giving her a little bit of financial cushion to do that. So if they do eat all the trees, she can replant and replace. But if they don't, she can share out this innovative practice. And just to emphasize that SARE grants are about helping grantees gain the knowledge they need to fundamentally improve their reality and share that knowledge out. So these are not grants meant to just help you install a best practice on your farm. These are not grants that are for proven best practices. These are for pushing the ball forward when we think about farmers' viability. Okay, so how does the money work on these grants? It's very much about a financial cushion for testing out an idea, but they are not free money. I think of it as a fee for service because you're doing the work on your farm or ranch or in your community and you're sharing out what you learn. Okay, so here are the 6 grants that SARE funds in our region. And I'm just gonna pause for a second and let you soak in this information. We're going to focus today on the top 3 because those are the 3 that, one, they're most approachable. You see they're the smaller dollar figures, but also I think they're the ones folks on this call are going to be most likely to apply for. I'll note right here at the start that for each of these grant programs, the SARE staff, we have a webinar about each one. So you can go in deep on all of these. We'll go in a little on the top 3. Right now, those top 3 are all open for applications if you get excited. So let's start with the Farmer Rancher grants. This is one of the 2 that I coordinate. This grant helps farmers explore innovative ideas and share what they're learning with their peers. Farmers can apply by themselves solo for up to 15 grand, or a team of 2 or more farmers can apply for up to 30 grand. And you have to be a current farmer or rancher to apply. And I'll just note that for the combos of farmers applying together, it can't be like me and my brother if we're basically the same operation. It really needs to be 2 separate farms that are working together. So on our farmer rancher grant that we had on our farm, we actually teamed up with the farm that's about a half-hour away that also does direct-to-consumer sales and was also struggling with getting butcher dates and getting back the kind of meat they wanted and the value-added products and charcuterie and that sort of stuff. And so we were able to apply for a little more money. At the time, it was not this much, but let's look at an example of a farmer rancher grant. So right now, here's one that's funded. Whitney Schlegel is doing this project where she's integrating sheep wool pellets with specialty crop systems, so veggies, using them as a way to enhance soil health, water storage, carbon sequestration, and plant production. So she's basically making wool pellets and then using them as a fertilizer, a slow release fertilizer. It's a really cool project, a little out there, but that's exactly the kind of thing that SARE funds. She's been seeing people playing with this in other places. And so she wrote a grant and was able it was selected, right? And so now she's testing it out. She's making pellets with her wool. They're testing it on a veggie farm in Bloomington, where she's at. It's a pretty cool project. If you want to look up and read about this, I've got a link there that you'll be able to click on when you get the slides. Okay, our youth educator grants. This is the other grant that I help coordinate. These are for educators to implement new or innovative sustainable ag efforts or expand existing ones. And we ask educators to share out with each other about what's working in terms of engaging youth with sustainable ag. These are pretty small grants, up to 6 grand, but we definitely do receive grants directly from farmers on this, but also soil and water conservation staff, ag extension agents, FFA teachers, nonprofits, anyone. We take a really broad definition of who's a youth educator, but anyone who's educating youth, you count and you can absolutely apply. So let's look at an example here in Indiana on this. In Indy, Danielle Guerin at Soul Food Project Indy had a SARE grant to develop their Youth Grow Indy program, which is a paid internship for high school students. It was actually just featured on Farming Matters, which is SARE's video podcast where we interview farmers about their projects. So that's a pretty cool way to get to see what sorts of things are getting funded, including Danielle's episode, which I've got the link here for when we get to it, when you get the slides. Okay, and then grant number 3 that I want to dive into today is the partnership grant. And so this is a really neat one, I think, because it's all about a collaboration between ag professionals and the farmers. Somebody from Urban Soil Health or Extension or Hoosier Young Farmers Coalition, any sort of quote unquote ag professional, somebody who's serving farmers, works with a team of at least 3 farmers to do an on-farm trial, a demonstration, or an education project. And you can ask for up to 50 grand. People are doing all sorts of neat things with these projects. For instance, here in Indiana, you know her well, Megan Ayers, and a team of farmers from across the state applied for this grant to solve the compost conundrum. So they're trying to inoculate locally available compost, which I think we all know is not as good as we want it to be, to increase fertility and soil health on small farms. And this is a super neat project. It just got funded, just getting started this year, but they're testing the idea on farms all around the state. And you can see the list of farms and folks involved there. And you can ask Megan more about it. But this is it's a great example of a partnership grant because it's saying like, hey, we've got this idea. We want to test it in a bunch of different scenarios. The farmers are interested, but they don't want to be the ones pushing the project forward. They just want to be the test sites. And so we've got the ag professional involved for that reason, and to bring expertise, obviously. So that is the partnership grant. Before we go further, a few more details about SARE grants overall that you're going to want to know if you are going to apply for any of those 3 or any of the SARE grants. What can SARE funds be used for and what can't they pay for? So you can absolutely include partial salary for an ag professional if it's a partnership grant, farmer time on any of these grants. And that could look like an hourly rate for doing the actual work, or if you're hosting a tour on a farm or surveying farmers, any way farmers engaged, SARE wants to pay for that time. We want to respect farmers' time. And the USDA recommended rate is $25 an hour. SARE grants can pay for supplies, for trials, equipment, sort of. So there's a 50% rule, which means that if the piece of equipment that you need for the trial costs more than $5,000 or has a lifespan of more than a year, then this 50% rule applies, where you can only ask for up to 50% of the cost of that thing, whatever it might be, whether it's a, maybe it's a no-till seed drill or something like that. The more straightforward way to include equipment is to rent it for your trial or demonstration. SARE funds can be used for travel or meeting expenses, can include food if it's part of meeting continuity. And I think a lot of you are used to that sort of rule from USDA where, if you need to provide lunch because it's a full day workshop, that's totally okay. And then there are some other things that SARE grants can be used for. And if you have questions about like, okay, here's my idea, I don't know which costs are eligible, just be in touch. Myself or one of the other folks from SARE can talk you through it. But note that we cannot pay for permanent structures, branded attire or promotional items, insurance. There are a couple of other things we can't pay for. And I've got a note there, see call for proposal for details. The call for proposal, we're going to talk about in a little bit. It's the document that comes out when we announce the grant. So we are calling for you to submit proposals. And it has an extensive list of what can and can't be paid for. So definitely check that document out. It's very helpful. And then outreach. It says farmer to farmer sharing. It could also be, ag professional to ag professional sharing or educator to educator sharing. I just want to emphasize that outreach is a key part of SARE grants. And what you learn during your grant is definitely not proprietary. It is open source because this is federal funding that's trickling down to you to do this on-farm research or demonstration or trial. But we want you to be sharing about what you learned. You might be pretty straightforward ways that you might be familiar with, like field days or farm tours. It could be a video series, and you could use SARE funds to hire somebody to make that video series for you. It could be a series of social media updates. You could present at a conference. There's there's really a lot that could count as part of your outreach. You definitely don't have to do all of those things, to be clear. You might want to do a couple of those things. We want it to be realistic, but it's super important that folks are including outreach because that's the whole point here. We're hoping for innovation that doesn't just benefit that farm or that community, but that ripples out to others who are curious about those same ideas. And then reports are also part of how grantees share what worked and what didn't. So for most SARE grants, you're going to have to do a progress report after 1 year and a final report, which is usually after 2 years when your project ends. And those are relatively painless, and we walk you through how to do those. And those reports go into the SARE database, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, so that anybody in the world could look up the key points of what you learned, and be a step ahead in their own work on their own farm or in their own community because of your good work. Okay, and who decides which proposals get funded? So I mentioned earlier that there's a peer review panel. I got to serve on the one for Farmer Rancher. I would say that if you're curious about these grants, but you're not like aching to apply right this minute, serving on a review panel might be a really cool way to get to know these programs from the inside out. That's what I did, and it was very helpful to me. And even if you're just thinking about your own idea that you're hoping to get funded right now, I'll just emphasize that this peer review panel, they use a scoring criteria. It's a set of usually like 5 questions that they're asking themselves, and they use that criteria to score every proposal. And that full scoring criteria, the exact thing that the reviewers use, is in the call for proposals. So you can look at it, and the pro tip there is try scoring your own application, or maybe even better yet, ask maybe a peer to review it and give you some constructive criticism, and then improve your draft based on that. If you want to serve on a review panel, we have a little form that you can fill out telling us what your background is and what topics you're interested in, and then the staff can sift through that, and we try to put together a peer review panel that's really it's really important to us that it's a cross section of the North Central region. So we're bringing in diversity in terms of geography, scale, production type, race, gender, growing zones, like all the things. So it's exciting to get some applications from Indiana to make sure we've got Hoosier voices in those review panels. Okay, and then how does the money work? So cash flow on these grants varies by grant. So I want to emphasize that for Farmer Rancher and Youth Ed, you get a portion of the funding up front, either 50 or 75%, 50% for Farmer Rancher, 75% for Youth Ed. And then you get paid the rest as you submit those reports. Partnership grants are reimbursement only, so you don't get any money up front, but you can get paid monthly or quarterly as you spend the funds. I'm not sure exactly why they're different that way, but they are, and it's important for folks to know that. You can plan your grant activities with this cash flow in mind. Okay. SARE tools for your toolbox. Here's what we're going to do. My computer's dying. So I'm going to very quickly run and get a power cord. And you guys are going to talk amongst yourselves for approximately 1 minute. I'll be right back.
All right, everybody, since we're waiting for Liz to come right back, please don't forget to post your questions in the chat, whether that's specific to types of grants or even where you can get more information about some of the things she's talking about. The chat is where you can go to ask those questions, because we will have a Q&A after Liz's presentation is completed. And there she is.
I'm back. Thanks for improvising. I'm so sorry. In addition to balancing a full-time job, I've got the farm, and chores took longer than I thought they would this morning. Okay, so SARE tools for your toolbox. I want to emphasize the free books and bulletins. I think that's so cool. I also have a couple of handouts that I just made one for Farmer Rancher grants and one for Youth Educator grants that are just a PDF, 1 page front and back. That might be great if you are an ag professional to give out to farmers that you see in your area that might be interested in these grants. Megan, I'm hoping you could send those out to everybody if I send you the PDFs. And then connections. So you probably all know her, but just in case you don't, Lace McCartney is a wonderful human who is in Purdue Extension, and part of her job, I'm not sure if it's 25% or what, but a small portion of her time gets to be working on SARE. She's our state coordinator. Every state has one. Usually it's an extension agent, and they get to coordinate all the state level work that's funded by SARE, which is a huge lift. And Lace is amazing at it. And one of the things that includes is if you have a grant idea, you can call Lace up or email her and say, hey, Lace, do you think this would be a good fit for a grant? Or like, hey, Lace, could you take a peek at my draft? I do have some other people who can do that as well, that I'm going to tell you about, but Lace is a huge resource for you if you're thinking about a SARE grant. And then some digital resources. So I just helped put together video tutorials about how to apply some of the big picture stuff where we've got other farmers and ranchers chiming in with their perspectives, like how to tell if your idea is a good fit, or like, should you bother applying? And then other ones that are nuts and bolts, like how do you build out your budget section of your application, and how do you get a free account on the SARE website so that you can put together your online application, stuff like that, some of the nuts and bolts. Let's see, in terms of the other digital resources, we're going to talk about them here in just a second. Megan, what do you think? Should we go ahead and switch to Q&A, or should I give like the 5-minute tips on grant writing?
Let's go ahead and do the 5-minute tips on grant writing,
Okay.
because I think there will be some valuable questions that come out of that as well.
Great. Okay. So, holding on the questions, let's talk about grant writing. I think of writing a SARE grant as having 4 steps. And we're going to just quickly walk through all 4 of these. So number 1, is your idea a good fit for a SARE grant? Read the call for proposals about the grant that you're interested in. It's got a ton of tips and guidance. And I'm gonna show you where to find that. So on our website, northcentral.sare.org, you click on the grant that you're interested in, and then there's this orange circle is going to have links to the call for proposals as a Word or PDF document. You can register for the webinar that dives deep, deep, deep into the grant and how to apply, and more. So when you click on those links, this is what you're going to get. It's a document that's designed just for you to try to make this more approachable. I put a ton of energy into this, along with several of my coworkers, trying to figure out how do we make these documents less academic and much more user-friendly. So I hope you'll download those and look at them. The next thing I would suggest is look at what's been funded recently. So this is a screenshot of the SARE website. If you click on any given grant and you scroll down, you're going to see a list of past recently funded projects, or you can use the map view to scroll in and see what's been funded in your area. It's kind of fun. It's a fun little rabbit hole to go down. And it'll help you get a sense of like, how much outreach are people including? What kinds of things are they putting in their proposals? Or you can search the SARE database. So this is a different website than the one we were just at. So the one we were just at was just about SARE overall, but projects.sare.org is where you actually go to search for funded SARE projects or apply for a project. I want to highlight that searching the projects is a super good way to tell if your project might be a good fit. And in fact, in your application on all these grants, you're going to have to say, you're going to have to talk about whether or not there are other SARE grants that have tackled the same topic. And if so, how are you taking the next step with this line of inquiry? And I just put this up here to say, basically, it's like a Google search, but only of SARE projects. Step 2, ask for help. I'm putting myself on there. There's my phone number and email. Part of my job is to talk to people who have ideas that they think might be a good SARE grant. That's super fun. Call me up. I'd love to talk. Shoot me an email. I've got Lace's info on there. And the other resource I want to highlight for you is this Michael Fields Institute. They are a nonprofit that actually helps people apply for grants. I didn't know anything about them, but they will help any farmer or farm-focused organization apply for grants, and not just SARE grants. So give them a holler. Ideally, you say like, hey, here's the thing I want to apply for. Can we talk? And they also help farmers just with like FSA loans and things like that. So definitely check out the Michael Fields Institute as a resource. Step 3, develop your proposal. Generally speaking, SARE grants are going to ask these basic things. The who, what, where, when, how. Like, what are you doing? Who's going to be involved? When are you going to do it? Where are you working? That kind of thing. A budget. And some attachments. Almost all of them ask for a letter of support, and a few other things. The details about all those are in the webinars about each grant. I don't have to go in those right now. And then last but not least, I just want to highlight that this is an online application system. But it's a little easier to navigate now that we have the new video tutorials. If you have any trouble with it at all, reach out to me or any of the SARE staff. We'd be happy to walk you through. We don't want people to avoid applying just because it's a online application. Last but not least, 3 slides of grant writing tips. We've already talked about some of these. I think that it's important to say, like, SARE is very realistic in that we're not expecting you to go it alone. We want you to partner with others. So if you have a project that's focused on soils, partner with Urban Soil Health. Even if it's a farmer rancher grant, ask them if they could analyze your soil results and, not actually do the lab work, right? But like once you get your report back, walk you through what did you learn? And then mention that in your application that you're going to be working with them because they have that expertise. Or if you want to host a field day and you've never done that before, partner with your extension or your soil and water or a farmer organization or a food council and do that together with somebody who already knows how to put on events. We want these projects to be realistic for farmers, and we don't want anybody to make themselves crazy over it. I think on your outreach plan, you want to be more detailed than not. Just saying like, we'll do some social media posts is probably not gonna cut it with the review panels. You're gonna want to say how many people you reach on social media, what types and how many posts you're gonna do, and you probably need something other than just social media posts, is my feeling so far. I'm still new to the job, and I'm certainly not the one who makes the decisions. I just coordinate the things. So if you want it to be really focused on just one type of outreach, make sure to explain why that's your choice. Draft a realistic project budget, and please, please, please include farmers' time. And I don't think I said this earlier, so I'm going to emphasize here, SARE grants are not for funding everyday farming expenses. So as an example, let's say you want to do a youth educator grant and you have a community garden and you're going to do a youth education project within the garden, and you need to buy some seed. Well, if the seed is just for the community garden in general, excuse me, and not related to the youth educator project, let's say every year you guys grow a bunch of pumpkins, but the youth educator project is all about, salad greens, you can't pay for the pumpkin seed. But if the pumpkins are a part of the youth educator project, let's say the kids are, I don't know what they're doing, maybe they're using pumpkins to learn about the life cycle of plants, then you can include that seed. It just has to be directly related to the project. It can't just be a way of funding your farming or gardening efforts. Last slide here. Keep your ideas simple and just remember that the strongest SARE grants, the strongest applications are usually focused on 1 or maybe 2 things. We want it to be something you can actually accomplish in 23 months, and note that the folks reviewing your proposal understand what's practical and achievable and what's not. take your reader by the hand. So these reviewers know a ton, but they don't know everything that's in your brain. So you really got to describe in detail, take them by the hand, each step of what you're going to do and why it's going to help advance sustainable agriculture. And last but not least, always have somebody proofread your proposal. A fresh set of eyes can go a long way. With that, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see some of your beautiful faces, and open up the chat here, and see if I can answer any questions. Okay, so we've got, will Michael Fields work with innovative for-profit sustainability orgs? I do not know. So Terry, thank you for putting that link in. Nice. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay, so here's another example of a funded Indiana project. Soil and Water got a professional development grant, which is one I didn't talk about, but super cool. Awesome, and lots of good links there. Well, why don't we just open it up for any Q&A that people might have about applying. And you can type in the chat, or you can turn your audio or visual on and ask away.
I've got a question for you, Liz. And you may not have an answer to this, or at least not a specific one. I think something that keeps a lot of people from making the effort to fill out a grant proposal is that they just automatically assume that the grant that they're applying for is extremely competitive and that there are like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that they're up against.
Yes.
Is SARE like that?
I'm so glad you asked. I should have put that in a slide. So thanks for the coach's pitch. Some of the grants are more competitive than others. So let's see if I can get these numbers correct. And for each of them in the call for proposals, it's gonna say how many people applied last year and how many proposals were funded. So you can get a sense. Generally speaking, the research and education grants are the most competitive. And so we probably get like 150 or so applications each year, and we only fund like 15. So that's pretty darn competitive. But others are much less competitive. So for instance, I think in a typical year for the partnership grants, we might see 60 or so applications and we fund about 20. So that's 1 in 3 are selected. For farmer rancher, I think we typically get around 140 applications and about 40 are funded. So again, about 1 in 3. Youth educator is probably about 1 in 3. So decent odds. I don't know how that compares to like an equip application. You know, I don't know what portion of those folks are funded, for instance, but I think if you're thinking about applying for a grant for the very first time, SARE's a really good option because those acceptance rates are relatively high, and the application is relatively simple. We try to keep them relatively brief if we can, or as best we can. So that maybe it takes you, 5 hours or 10 hours to put together your idea, get all your documents in place, have somebody proofread it, etc., and apply. As opposed to like federal grants, big USDA grants, that would take dozens and dozens of hours to apply, and then you're competing with everyone in the entire country.
Thanks, great answer.
Okay, here's one. Any ideas for how we can accommodate for Amish producers when submitting an online application? Yeah, great question, Alyssa. So we do accept applications in writing. We ask them not to be faxed because it can be really hard to read over a fax, but they can be mailed in. And so we have had Mennonite and Amish producers apply and be selected. I know for Farmer Rancher Grant, we had one last year. So I don't know that person yet, but my directions are to do everything by mail. And so that's what we're going to do. If you shoot us a message at the SARE office, if you have somebody who's interested, shoot us a message. We can mail out a print copy of the application. Somebody can type out or handwrite out their answers and then mail that in by the deadline. And it'll absolutely be, considered along with the whole pool. We'll have somebody on our staff just type it into our system so that our reviewers can see it. And yeah, we'll make that accommodation for sure. And if you're thinking, speaking of language, if you have Spanish speaking producers, more and more of the SARE materials are available in Spanish. The application is still only available in English. I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon, to be frank. But there are some of the bulletins and books are in Spanish. Some of the videos are in Spanish. It's pretty neat to see how quickly that's adapting. And also Hmong, because we have a lot of Hmong producers in the north part of our region, but I don't think that's quite as much of an issue here in Indiana, obviously. Well, I'll say this. I would be delighted to answer other questions that percolate up and that you think of as the days roll out. The partnership grants, I think, are due in October. Youth Educator is November, and Farmer Rancher is December. So if you're interested in those, the time is perfect for signing up for the webinar to learn even more about that grant opportunity, or reaching out and saying like, hey, is this idea a good fit? Or hey, I want some help. I need some help with my application. The time is right to be putting those ideas together, or to plant the seed and be applying next fall. Yes, Victor asks if you want to order some books or for an outreach project, how do you do that or note the purpose? So yeah, I think you would just include that in your budget as a line item. Whether they were SARE books or otherwise, you would just include the cost and why you needed that book, and then you're good to go, just like any other item, whether it was seed or hourly time or anything else. Does that make sense, Victor? If not, let me know. Any questions you guys have, send them my way. Get in touch with Megan, and she can connect us too. I really appreciate your time and all the good work that you guys do for Indiana. It means a lot.
Liz, this is Victor.
Oh, hey, Victor.
I actually was meaning if we've got a project, we have one that's working with Amish right now. If we want to order some books, you said that we can get a certain amount of books for free.
Yes, yeah.
But when I looked at the website, it looked like I didn't see a way to do that.
Yes, let me get that link for you right now and put it into the chat.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Let's see here. Give me one moment. Because I actually don't know where it lives on the website itself. I just have the link directly from one of my colleagues. So I should learn. But for now, I'm just going to drop the link. So there's the link on the website, and I'm pretty sure it lets you click through and say, yeah, just exactly what, it takes you to a Google form and lets you decide which books you're after and how many and the like.
Great.
So,
thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, of course. All right, Megan, I think I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Well, thanks, Liz. I really appreciate it. Not only your expertise, but your experience. I think it's really meaningful when those of us who are ag professionals are also farmers and also have experience with these programs, because that peer-to-peer learning is just so valuable. So I really appreciate your time sharing with us, Liz. Thank you.
Happy to. I'm going to stick around for a little bit, so I'll just mute myself along with everybody else.
Great, thank you. We're going to move on to our regional updates with our partners. So let me just get my screen shared here, and we will get that moving. And can you guys all see this okay?
Looks great.
Wonderful. So we've got big news that is relatively recent, and that's that our Northwest Regional Small Scale and Soil Health Specialist, Marianne Rodriguez Soto, has moved on. She accepted a position as a soil conservationist with NRCS in Williamsport. So we're really proud of her, and we're really excited for her new venture in conservation. Let me get rid of this so you guys can see her lovely pics. So how she finished her tenure here is that she and Kevin Allison worked on the cover crop calculator webinar, the mulching calculator webinar, and then she attended a micro irrigation workshop training for NRCS planners and engineers, which I was there as well. It was excellent. Her last day with Urban Soil Health was last Friday, and she wanted to say thank you for giving her the opportunity to work with everyone, and thanks for everything that we all do and will continue to do for urban and small scale growers. So if any of you had an opportunity to work with Marianne, I know you were probably infected with her passion and her enthusiasm for conservation in Indiana. And so if you do see her around, tell her that the Urban Soil Health team misses her face because she was fabulous. So yeah, please reach out to her if you see her. Next will be the Northeast.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Terry. I'm the Northeast Soil Specialist. So this last month, again, has been busy getting out visiting farms across the region. I am working with Madison County NRCS to do a program where the farmers can attend to be able to understand how to better connect with NRCS, what that looks like. I put a link in the chat for the event. This one's specifically geared towards farmers and landowners. However, professionals are invited to attend just to kind of understand the process a little bit more. And it's going to be low key, and it's going to be an opportunity for other people in the area to be able to come together. And it's not just for Madison County folks. So if you're coming from a different area, everybody is welcome. And you'll get all the tools to be able to understand what that NRCS equip program looks like. And if you're connected with farmers and they're in and around Madison County, if you could share that with them, I'd really appreciate it. Yesterday, Casey and I attended the Women for the Land discussion leader training. So we are both able to help facilitate Women for the Land learning circles now and moving through that process. And that was a lot of fun meeting with a bunch of folks talking about how to get more women involved in conservation because it's predominantly male at this point. And then I wrote an article or a success story. We had it in our last newsletter, and I went ahead and put it up on our website. Here's a link to that in the chat for the High Tunnel Build and Learn in Rochester in the end of July. If you're looking for a story to be able to share in your newsletters, I welcome you to be able to link that article and use it. It was a lot of fun to be able to do the High Tunnel Build and Learn and write about it and take some pictures. And then with regards to working groups in the Northeast region, I am so stinking excited to have a new working group. Grant County Soil and Water has partnered with the Marion Community Gardens Association and NRCS to be able to start their new working group. And of course, it is all acronyms, so gosh. Grant County Urban Soil Health. And they're so enthusiastic and excited to be able to help move forward community gardens in their community. And so welcome Grant County Soil and Water and Gush to our working groups. The Soil Guardians of DeKalb and Steuben hosted a site visit training for their volunteers. And it was a lot of fun meeting a bunch of folks that are excited to get out and learn and talk more about soil health in their community. And St. Joe SCRAP is their acronym for the St. Joe County Regenerative Agriculture Partnership. They did farm tours. So in the morning, we went to Spencer Family Farms, a flower farm in Steuben or St. Joe County. And then we had a beautiful lunch in a local park, and then we went to Lee's Edible Acres to learn about farming out there. So you can see the video that's been looping is the flower farm from Spencer Family Farm, with the picture below that is just their little cute little farm or flower stand that they have at their driveway where they sell some of their flowers. The middle picture is Ryan Lee pulling back a tarp, and he's just showing his conservation that he does all the time. And then the picture to the right is his front few pick flower farm that he has, and a bunch of participants. And it was just a really fun farm tour that we had there. So those are my highlights from the Northeast. Thanks a bunch, folks.
Thank you very much, Terry. We always appreciate your work and your beautiful pictures. Next is the Southwest, Casey.
Hello. Hopefully you guys can hear me and my internet isn't terrible. But I have a lot of pictures to share. I've been at a lot of trainings and things this past month. So I participated in the NRCS irrigation and design training. People from all over the country had come to that, so that was a very cool experience. The micro irrigation workshop that we held at the Southwest Purdue Ag Center just last week, I've got pictures of that. The Women for the Land training yesterday was great, so I'm excited to do some of those women circles in the Southwest, but also all over the state, so that's exciting. The Bagnology Days, I was there on Thursday. It was a 3-day event. I think they said that we saw close to like 13 to 15,000 people in those 3 days. So that was a really big deal, even though it's mainly, you know, for big row crop farmers. I still talk to people about their gardens. I talked to someone from Senator Braun's office. We talked to people from different states as well as different countries. So very cool experience. And that's what the pictures on this slide are from. Amanda Couts doing a soil health demonstration with a trailer. And then this was a cool experiment that they had done with these, I can't remember what exactly they called it, but showing the roots of how this grows out and about. I think that's something that we were talking about doing with cover crops. So maybe we could do something like that in the future to look at that. But that was a really cool thing to look at. And then I've been doing some Get the Dirt planning. So next slide. And here's just a whole bunch of pictures. The top left, that's from the Women for the Land training yesterday. The bottom is at the SWIPAC irrigation workshop. And then the other photos are from the NRCS National Irrigation Training and at Dan Perkins Farm. Next. And then I wanted to promote this. The Push It group down in the far Southwest is hosting Jesse Frost November 16th. So there's a sign up to register. I will put the link in the chat, or you can use the QR code, but you could contact Warwick or Vanderburg SWCD for more detailed information if you need that. And please note that this is on Central Time, not Eastern Time. So, but very excited for that, to have Jesse come and talk and do some breakout sessions. There'll also be some other ag professionals there to talk and do some networking. So register for that. It is $10 and that will help, I think, pay for lunch. So register for that. And I think that's all I've got.
Thanks so much, Casey. That Jesse Frost event looks very cool. I'm excited about hosting him in the state. For myself, in the Southeast, I enjoyed talking about cover crop basics with community members during the Dearborn Urban Working Groups Beekeeping, Pollinator, and Cover Crop Field Day, which was in Bright last month. Had a great evening workshop with a Clark County Soils Working Group and their Yard Sprouts Holistic Gardening Series. This has been just a really impressive program where they've just been doing monthly educational workshops with conservation practices aimed at small scale growers. So I just can't say enough good things about Clark County's effort from their working group. They're just really doing an excellent job. Additionally, another working group that's killing it is Bartholomew's Conservation Working Group. They had a beautiful small ruminant field day at Whiteside Farms where we got to talk about field health, soil health, forage health, and utilizing small ruminants for forest management, which was really exciting. I had help from members of the Orange County, Washington County, and Jennings County SWCDs in cleaning up the demo garden, and we talked about cover crops for winter kill termination and spring termination. So we planted them, and then we're going to be doing a follow-up event in the spring where we terminate some of those cover crops. And then additionally, I got to learn about micro irrigation from specialists in planning from NRCS and in research at Purdue. Some upcoming events that you should keep a lookout for. Tonight, we've got a community and composting workshop in Paoli at their community garden from 5 to 8. We'll have special guests, Tanvi Ladd and Jason Gerhardt, talking about composting on a small scale in your backyard and feeding those microbes so that your compost doesn't fail. And then on Wednesday at Purdue, we're going to go to the Midwest Mechanical Weed Day. Then Forage Management Field Day at the Southern Indiana Purdue Agricultural Center on the 17th. In Lawrence County on the 24th, we'll be doing a fall gardening and soil health workshop at the Bedford Community Garden. And then in Du Bois County, the Let's Dig Working Group will be hosting a fall gardening workshop. And I'm including that even though it's not in my region because I get to speak. So I'm really excited about that. And then just to plug one more time, don't forget about future grant due dates. This is sort of that grant time. Late summer and fall are the grant deadline periods. And so start planning for those projects that you'd like to get funding for. Additionally, I just wanted to post some of those flyers. At the end of the month, I'm really excited about hosting my own High Tunnel Build and Learn. The QR code is right there. It's going to be a 2-day event, September 30th from 10 to 5, and then October 1st from 9 to 3. And so that first day, we're going to be, the majority of the day is going to be building that high tunnel. And then the second day, we're going to finish the high tunnel and discuss a lot of conservation practices that support success in growing for season extension. We're going to have guests from Nifty Hoops there who are going to be helping us through that whole process. So please register. We'll feed you. It'll be a beautiful day on my farm in Jefferson County. So happy to have you out. And then let's not forget that Get the Dirt is coming up. This is our annual conference. It'll be Wednesday, October 16th from 8 to 5:30 at the Hendricks County Fairgrounds. Our keynote is Lolly Hess, the owner of Juniper Spoon. She's going to be talking about growing community and conservation in small businesses. You may remember her for those of you who went to the IDEA conference last year. She spoke really eloquently about her passion for community and small scale agriculture, utilizing her own farm to start her small business. This is a full day event. It's for conservation professionals who work with urban and small scale farmers, vegetable growers, and diversified farmers, but we also invite growers to come by because there's going to be a lot of resources available for you there. And after the event, we're going to have a really lovely social at Porter Farm, which is a veteran program that is a residential farm where veterans can go and learn about agriculture and live there. So we're really excited to offer this to you all. Please don't forget to register because spots are filling up fast. It's a free event, and we're happy to have you there. Then partner shares. Does anyone want to share about projects that you've got coming up, events, anything that you want the listeners to know about? Just go ahead and pipe up.
We're going to be having a compost mixer at Wood Farms in Fort Wayne. This is just going to be a gathering, learning about compost, all the different types. Dirt Wayne has his commercial operation there, so we're going to see large scale, but I'd also like to have small scale composting methods to help educate other people about composting for soil health.
Awesome. Is there registration required for that?
No, nope. I did post it on Eventbrite. It's kind of a come and go, I think.
Cool. Sounds like a great opportunity. Anyone else? All right. So we'll close out with a reminder that our next meeting is October 8th. We're going to be talking about cover crops and livestock, which we don't often talk about. We are often really in that fruit and vegetable space. So it's going to be exciting to learn about experts in utilizing cover crops and livestock. Please don't forget October 16th. And hopefully we will see you all very soon. So please have a great day. Reach out if you have any questions, and be on the lookout for the recording of this session so that you can access all of those links from SARE. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and see you soon.
Thank you.